Yo, bartender.
Bar's closed.
Hey, yo, bartender, what's good, man? Let me get a drink, man. Let me get a shot.
Hey, man, I know you just put up to the bar, but we closed.
Come on, man. You gotta be able to give me a shot, man. Come on.
You look like you need a drink, man, but I hate to tell you this, man. We about to close.
So you mean to tell me all these people out here, they got drinks and they got shots, but I can't get nothing. The bar closed that soon?
Okay, man, I don't know what else to say. I got this shorty half my age at the crib, and I'm trying to get to it. But last call was 10 minutes ago.
You know what? It's alright. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right. Tell you what, I'm gonna get you one drink, cause it look like you need
one drink. I can do one drink. I can do one drink, cause I really yeah.
Hey, man, anything, man. Look like you got a lot on your mind and you need a friend right now. Pour it on me. Ain't no last calls here.
Bar Talk with Jay.
Welcome to Bar Talk with Jay.
Welcome.
One of the things I want to brought to you by is Dispose LLC. This is a garbage company been doing great things for a minute and a half. And I would like to say all you got to do is give us a chance. Give us a try and you'll find out that we can do many things for you. And if you wonder what all we can do, we can get that trash away from you. It's not just a regular household 90-yard toter. That's just your regular people. I'm the one that's going to get that remodeling. Yes, when you need a big dumpster to get all that stuff out of there. Back when coronavirus, you had all that stuff stored away. All you hoarders, you can give me a call at Dispose and we can get that can over there. 30, preferably probably a 20 if you got a small situation. And we even got a 15-yarder. Yes, we got something for you.
Nice.
Just give us a call at Dispose LLC. Now I got to get back rocking with this man that's been rocking with me for 7 years. This man comes in each and every time with a smile. He don't fake it, he don't play it, but he is craftmatic. How you doing that night, big baby?
I'm doing good, Jay. Everything's good, man.
And this man come in with me. Y'all need to pay attention now. I'm telling you something. Y'all man might come in mad at the world. He come in smiling. He don't let this stuff that's in this world bother him.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure y'all pay attention. He's a good man and he's single.
You are applauding. Look at you.
Hey, man. Just stirring it up.
Yeah. So I'm doing good, Smooth Jay. You know, here we are getting ready to hit 2024.
Say it again.
And, you know, got to take a look at who we are, where we are, and where we're going. And I'm taking a good look at that right now in my life. So kind of in a meditative state as we close out the year.
Right.
But I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Let me tell you, man. Puzzled, but I'm always trying to stay uplifted. One of the problems I always have, I told you, is constantly battling of trying to stand on a positive spiritual trail compared to a negative downward. And the reason you let it get on you because you start letting negative people into you.
Yes.
And my whole thing is you got to keep pushing back. And again, it's a practice because I can get just as ratchet as anybody else. And one of the things I don't need to do is go down a rabbit hole. Knowing that I know better and I don't do better.
That's right.
So it's still a challenge. So again, for all y'all that's acting crazy out there, I still throw these hands. But again, that's not what I need to be doing.
That's right.
I have to make sure I put myself in better positions because if I got to go back to old school ways and throwing hands and stuff, then I kept an old school mindset.
There you go.
And that's not what I need.
There you go. A great way to introduce our show. This is Bar Talk with Jay.
Yes,
my name is Craftmatic. This is my boy Smooth Jay.
Yeah.
And we are here to liberate your minds and souls with a great dialogue. We're just going to chop it up on the subject for a little while. And we hope that there's some value in this conversation.
Always.
Find yourself in the midst of this conversation. What would you do? How would you respond? How do our stories and opinions make a difference to you? And of course, what we want you to do is to make a clear and cut decision by the end of this show as it relates to this topic.
Yes.
Because those decisions are chinks in your armor. Those decisions are bricks in your wall when you need to fortify yourself in the coming future. So let this kind of be therapeutic and let's all have a good time, shall we?
All day.
We always start the show off with a prayer.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a prayer tonight, Jay, that's
What
going
you
to
got?
kind of, it's kind of a general prayer, but we're going to make it as specific as it needs to be for each individual.
Okay.
So as you hear this prayer, just chime in. We want to pray for the good life.
Oh,
Tonight.
Yes.
And there are numerous things that we want in the good life, but I'm just going to show you how I decided to hand it over to the Lord tonight.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we come into your presence now just thanking you for all that you are in our life,
Yes.
for your strength and your power and your purpose in our lives.
Mhm.
We ask, Heavenly Father, that you would show us the good life.
Mm.
In the midst of all of that's going on in the world, even in the midst of trying times and challenging spaces and places, we believe that you can fortify us and our life with a good life.
Mm.
We ask, Heavenly Father, that you would first focus on our minds. Give us an optimistic mindset. Allow us to see things clearly and to be able to discern things rightly in this life so that we know that we know that we know.
Mhm.
Give us the wisdom and intelligence to be able to guide our decisions and walk us through the path of making healthy and prosperous decisions for our lives. We ask, Heavenly Father, to have great relationships, to be surrounded by good people who are positive, people who are going somewhere, people who are healthy, people who are hungry for the good life, people who are loyal and people who are righteous, Heavenly Father. Surround our space with that loving, positive energy that allows all of us to grow and be better in our lives. Put a song in our mouth, Lord. You say that you would put laughter upon our mouth and a smile upon our hearts, Lord. Give us overflowing vats in all areas of our life, from our finances to our love, to our exercise, to our health, to our peace, to our joy. Overflow our vats with life and more abundantly. Give us the expansion of territory, Lord, for those who may be needing a bigger home, for those who may be wanting to play a little bit more in this world. Expand our territory of fun and joy and allow us to experience this good richness of life that you have here to offer. We ask, Heavenly Father, that you would do all these things in your Son's name. We ask that you would be here in this show to do your good and perfect work. Speak your intelligence on the topic tonight. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Y'all didn't feel that? Only thing I can tell you is listen to it again. Subscribe, listen, pass it. I know a lot of people needed that.
Yes. And to be honest with you, I should have probably prayed over the topic for tonight, which I haven't given yet. But because we're all going to need some understanding about this.
Okay, let's get
the question for tonight is, do people's childhood affect their relationships?
Yes.
Does one's childhood affect their relationships?
Yes.
If so, and how? How would you start it off, Jay?
I'm going to tell you, it does, and I'm going to go back, and again, this is going to be a reflection of me alone. How you was raised and whatever things that you might have went through can kind of bounce off you in a way where you can rebound from it, or it can be a situation where you can't. I don't know what all everybody go through, so let's just talk from here. That way we got a basis. This basis is me. When I was a child, I had really no real trauma, fights and small stuff. But to me, I watched other people go through a lot of things. And then it kind of impacted me in a way where, I ain't want that. And the most trauma I would probably had was my dad. My dad was a real stickler. And you act up and he come over, it's on. It's on and popping. And it's never really a good thing. Well, it was trauma to me because it's like, that's the only time you got to come over here is to whoop me, And I only act like I went back as I was. But it's I got in more trouble than my sister. And she the one got me. I'm snitching, Gina. She the one went out there and did this now. And then he come over, and it's always me first because I was the boy.
Right.
But I'm 5 years younger than her, so I'm a little one.
Right.
Right. Use her up a little bit. I ain't got as much cushion. So I get tore up for stuff that we did or she did, didn't matter. And I'm sitting there looking at my own wounds, and half time she ain't get one. Made me mad.
You sound kind of hurt, Jay.
I kind of got it out. That was my therapy.
You sound like you're in your feelings right now.
So
man. Are you affected?
When I got older and I started dealing with my children, I said, I don't want that effect. Yes, when daddy come home, something's going to happen. You don't have to wait on me. You can start, I'm going to finish it. But one thing is not going to be is daddy's going to be the only enforcer. I gave the teachers the power to call me. You might not be able to do something to them. I will. But my whole thing is, it shouldn't just be me. I have a partner. I have a wife. And my wife shouldn't be scared to do anything to them as well. My mom wasn't never scared. She just knew it wasn't effective. So she brought more power in. But she didn't know how it was going to affect me and how I was going to feel.
Right.
So when I grew up, seeing I wasn't really traumatized, I just held it. I said I was going to do something different. I wasn't going to go that same approach. I didn't like that approach. I think that approach changed me from where I thought it should be to where I wanted to be. So I put myself into it. So yes, it can. And it can happen a lot of different ways. But one of the things I can tell you, you can repel from it and go another direction where you don't have to do the same. And then unfortunately, I've seen people traumatized and then they traumatize others because they call victim to what was done to them.
Yeah.
And I don't judge no one. I always say everybody can need some help. I probably need therapy for that little bit of stuff I just told you about. I didn't. I really just turned it around, did the best I could, but I really do feel like it can affect. So my whole thing is when you go through a lot of stuff, you try to block it out. That's the number one thing that most people do when they go through things and they don't want to talk about it because to them it's real trauma, to everybody else it's simple. But trauma can come in a lot of different forms and ways.
Yeah.
And we don't always get to the nitty gritty to find out how it affects you because you're too busy covering it up.
Yeah, and there's so many things I want to say on this subject, but one of the things that has always concerned me is how people get to a place where they realize their childish behavior no longer works. And so you keep running into this wall, perhaps because you have a childish attitude or a childish behavior about something. And then, you have to hit the wall 2 or 3 times before you wake up and say, hey, I need to grow up. Or, hey, I need to make a different decision. Hey, what my mother did doesn't work for me.
Right.
What my father did doesn't work for me. I have to do something different. We are all products of our environment.
True.
That is the way the whole world works. You're going to become kind of like the person that you were raised to be.
Right.
And oftentimes, that's not bad, if you were raised,
right.
Whether you were raised by parents or, a grandmother or auntie or whoever, if you were raised, you should have been raised to take care of yourself, take
right.
care of your business,
right.
to protect yourself. You should have been raised to be responsible, for your life and to be responsible for your business in life. You should have been raised to listen to your elders and listen to wisdom. You should have been raised to keep your mouth shut until you know what you're talking about. There are lots of things that that we supposedly have gotten from our rearing. But what happens is, if we didn't get it in our rearing, sometimes life will teach it to us.
Oh, yes.
Right? We were late for church for years. But when we started working, the boss wasn't having that. And so the boss said, no, not only do you need to be on time, but you need to be here a little early. Right? And so, life will hold us accountable for those things that we should have learned as a youth. But, when you get to life and you have to learn it, it can be taxing. Right? But again, where do people make the recognition that I know and I don't know? Oftentimes experience has to teach you that.
I think also accountability.
Self-accountability, matters.
It does, because I think
matters a lot.
It determines where the change is going to be. Because now I'm no longer blaming. Because I think when I was young, I blamed. Just like I told you, my dad came, I blamed, okay?
Right.
I ain't know nothing different. I was young.
Right.
But now when I get older, it's less blaming, okay?
Right.
Now I know why he came over, because I know I did wrong.
Right.
Okay? So it's not I could say he just beat me and he did this. No, I did wrong things. I mean, it's not to take away from the fact I want to keep accountability to my bad behavior.
Yes.
So once I start looking at my behavior, I start saying I got to start making choices, because I don't need him over here hitting on me because of the things I'm doing. And that's the reason he's coming. So now I have to be accountable for these actions, because I don't want the reaction. The reaction is not what I want.
Right.
So it's the same thing when I started working jobs and I became a manager, supervisor, working my way up the ladder into even my own business now. It's accountability. in relationships, there's accountability that a lot of people don't step foot into.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
easy to blame. She crazy. She toxic. You just don't understand her. She's a narcissist. When I hear all them people talking all that way, I be like, what about you? Because if you don't have no accountability and she is a narcissist or she's toxic, she's putting that on you and you're learning toxic ways. So the next relationship, I wouldn't be surprised if you have more of them traits than what you were seeing because it's a learned behavior. And then you're dealing with it.
Learned behavior.
Right? And it's not being dealt with because you're not being accountable. You're not accountable for her mouth. You're not trying to correct. You're not even asking her to go to therapy. I think that's one of the strongest things. And when you with somebody, it's not always giving up. And when somebody say somebody's toxic, somebody's a narcissist, and they throw all these words out here, have y'all been diagnosed? Have y'all been through counseling? Because again, you're using this against that person. You're talking negative to a partner that you chose to be with. My whole thing is work things out to stay together. It's so easy to leave somebody. Like it's so much better out there. Better what? Do you know you're not always better? A lot of times you are the toxic person too, because the fact it's so easy to quit, it makes it harder for the other person. So that's nothing good either.
Yeah, and easy to quit is probably something we need to dive into because, at a certain point you've dealt with a person's, challenge, issue, this thing that they present that may be childish or maybe immature. And then after a while, bro, you're like, okay,
I'm gonna keep doing that.
I'm tired of this. You know what I'm saying? Like things aren't changing. And because things aren't changing, it's making the relationship miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, there comes a place where it could be easy to quit. And I want to speak on behalf of love here. I want to speak on behalf of, having a real relationship with someone because it's not always going to be perfect.
Nope.
Right? But quitting is always not the answer as well. And oftentimes that very thing that you look into this other person's life or you look into their behavior and you see something that makes you miserable, more than likely there's something that you do that makes them miserable.
Gotta agree.
And so there becomes a point where one has to become compassionate and empathetic. True. So that the burden that they may be sharing with someone, obviously they take into account, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't just judge people away from you. There are going to be things that get on your nerves. There are going to be things that you think are childish and insignificant that they may think is very significant. I know in the cases of when women are quote unquote nagging or being bitchy or whatever the case may be, they usually aren't talking about something that's meaningless. Right. They usually are saying something over and over and over and over, something that's very important to them, something that's very important to the family, to the household, to the relationship, but you just don't want to hear it.
Because what you just said over and over and over.
Right.
No one wants to be taunted. Nobody wants to be badgered. Nobody wants to be nagged.
Right.
And again, she is communicating. One thing I can always say, you got 2 ears. And a lot of times I would tell you, early on in my marriage, I was Charlie Brown, walk. I did not understand what she was saying after a while. I tuned her out.
But she was saying something.
She was saying something very important.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because I kept hearing it. And my whole thing is, if you got to keep saying it, I ain't no child.
So watch this. How long should she have let it continue without saying anything and you continue to do the same thing?
It goes back to, it could have continued on long as it's going to continue on until I had accountability. I had to stop being a knucklehead and ignoring a person. And remember, a lot of the stuff she was saying is because I didn't want to take accountability. I didn't want to hear this because she was telling me things I need to do and I didn't care to do it. So guess what? I tuned her out because I didn't want to be accountable for it. Right. And as long as I didn't have to, I didn't really have to hear her, but bitch, I didn't have to do it. But again, it came back where she started handling and then relationship changed. Because again, that's sometimes you didn't see it. I didn't have that foresight to see that. I just thought about, I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it. And then she stopped telling me about stuff. Because you don't want to listen.
Started losing her interest.
Why would
her trust?
Because again, I didn't look at the bigger picture. I was too busy dealing with it on self. Now, listen, I was on a selfish level because I was selfish.
Here's what happened. This happened many a times in the show. Jay is taking ownership for what he did and didn't do in his previous relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And what we recognize now is that she was probably saying some meaningful stuff.
Correct.
But he didn't want to hear it.
Nope.
Right? And so there is an opportunity for both parties to now take a look at the scenario and make sure that they protect themselves or do something different the next time. Right? But in her defense, to some degree, it's hard to be in a relationship asking for the same thing over and over and over.
And I get it.
And you're not getting it. You keep asking, you keep longing for, you keep wanting this change, you keep wanting some help, you keep wanting to be heard, you keep wanting to be understood. And at a certain point, it's like dead in the water. And for her, even though she's right, talking about it aggravates the situation. And for him, you know, for him, you know, he's just tuning her out, completely. You know, completely. So, you know, there's no gravy there, but there has to be a place where the two parties have to be able to come together on that issue. And so both may be childish in a certain way. And the other side of it, both may have a point and be very aggravated with the other person for something that's real. But the next argument, the next disagreement, you cannot operate in the same exact way. Now you've got tornadoes flying all of your relationships. One of the things that happens in disagreements between people who are in a relationship is that they really never come to an answer. Over and over and over again, there's multiple issues. They really never come to agreement. They kind of agree to disagree, and yet they harbor some of that stuff about the issue. They harbor some resentment. They harbor some anxiety about it. And it doesn't come out until one of those heated episodes. Now you're talking about old stuff. Yep. That's kind of childish, right?
I will tell you.
To blow up and talk about what happened last week or last year, you know.
I had that happen so much that I made a way to make change. This might not work for you guys, but I'm going to tell you one of the things I did. Is when somebody comes to me and they give me some information, and it might be something that I probably don't want to hear. Like she's telling me some negative stuff about me. Or something I did. Let's just do it like that. Something I did that made her upset. And Lord knows I'm a jokester, so I probably said something. My mouth kind of fly. She said she has to give me time to process it. The biggest problem today is you expect immediate change in a person that has habits that you've been knew about, but you won't change immediately. You have to give me time to digest what you said. But you so in your feelings. I would normally say, okay, I'll get back with you about it. Now, she might say I'm blowing her off. I have a responsibility because I have accountability. So my responsibility is to listen to what she said and then come back and address it. Because then you don't leave the table unturned. You're actually turning it in a way she know you listen, and then you coming back because I had time to process. If not, I'm gonna give you my feelings. That's not my process. That is how I defend half the time. You come at me in a way, and then all of a sudden we get combative. I don't want
to answer you now.
Right, because I have the right to have time to process.
Yes.
You just gave that to me.
Yes.
And now you expect me to say I'm sorry and all this. That doesn't cause change. My words of sorry, I don't care to use it as much. I'm gonna tell you why. I'd rather make the change if it's something I can process. Everything you give me, I'm not gonna process for you. I want to process it for me, and it might be a better for me because I heard it, I digested it, and when I come back, you be like, I didn't know it landed like that. I didn't even know you took it that way. But you know something? I'm gonna see what I can do. And one of the things is I might not use the word. I might use a word that she got offensive. I agree with her. That's a word I need to make sure I get out my vocabulary. Why? I want to show growth. I also want to show her that I'm listening, and I want to add value back to our relationship. In the past, I didn't. Yeah. I just fired back.
Yeah.
And them responses was not add on. It was just a deflection.
And here's what's important, Jay, is that especially men do need time to process more than women, right? Because what we're really doing is we're biting our lip. You know what I'm saying? We're biting our lip. We kind of chewing on it for a little bit, and then we soften up. And when we soften up, that's the time that we can start expressing it. But one of the challenges that happen in relationships all the time is that you give people an opportunity to swallow the pill, whatever that happens to be, and then they come back and share with you how they really feel, and it upsets you.
Yes.
How they really, you wanted the truth, you got the truth, and now you still upset, right? There's got to be some childishism, some immaturity in that equation.
It is.
You have to be willing to receive the real impresses, and then you can make a decision from there.
And that's why sometimes you got to take time, because that happens a lot.
Where
I have to look at the way you present it, your head moving and all the rest of it. It's comical to me. My whole thing is I want to get the factual information. If I process it right then and there, I'm going to give you back what I seen. That's the head and this. Well, if I really love you, I need to get back into what you were saying compared to what you was doing. Because you went through this. It might be a childhood thing that's what you used to, and that's how you process.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like I didn't have to deal with it directly. I seen how you dealt with other people. You never brung it to me, but now you upset. Now I get it.
Right.
So I kind of knew it was in you, but now it's at me.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is not to combat you, not to fight you. It is for me to take that same situation like I do the rest. Let me give me a little time in our process. But the one thing I make sure I go back in with it. I have that conversation, because automatically she's gonna think I'm reflecting, I'm ignoring, I'm not wanting to deal with. You ain't no real man. And sometimes you're gonna hear things that do hurt. You ain't no real man.
She can't say that.
Well, she can't, but she can say the last man I dealt with, he just dealt with.
She can't say
see, when she starts saying this case she do. If she did, my whole thing is you ain't never got past that one because you ain't never gave me an opportunity. Because I have to, I have the right to do it my way. And you're telling me about how you used to it his way. Well, you need to get your ass back over there to him and get away from me, because see, that's toxic by itself. Me taking time, now you're learning me. You know I'm not the kind of person who want to sit there and argue with you. We don't need to go all that way. I'm the kind of person I want to process it and get back with you. There's an old school saying, never go to bed mad. I said, okay, I hear that, but that's usually your feelings. I want to make sure we go to bed with understanding, because I can't stop you being mad, but I might not have meant for you to be mad. So let me give you a better understanding of what happened, okay? Please understand, she still gonna probably have no feelings, even though I gave her my truth. My truth might not change her feelings, but at this point, when we go to bed, if she have a better understanding of how I feel and what really went on, even if she mad, she normally don't wake up that way. And I always make sure I look over to make sure she wake up. Because again, it's an understanding. We fail to get that because we still dealing with the anger.
So watch
the factual, emotional trauma.
And I'm gonna tell you, it happens a lot in between men and women that we could be talking about something and the conversation moves from the issue at hand to a lot of feelings.
Ooh, yes.
Right? And so because I said what I said, how I said it, now it's about how I'm talking to you and not the issue at hand.
The tone.
Right? And so, we got to stay on the issue. The issue is what brought up the conversation. The issue is what we need to deal with.
Can I also say, though, a lot of people use that automatically too.
It's an excuse.
I don't want to deal, because your tonage and how you, somebody say, you yelling at me. All this is the fact that you don't really want to hear what you're hearing.
You don't want to hear what you're hearing.
My whole thing is stop saying that and start listening. And if you listen more, you'll understand the person and their feeling. And I promise you, people, I was that person. I was that person that ignored you, just looked at you like you were stupid. I did it for many, many years. The only problem I had with that, if I would have took the time back then that I know now, I could have solved a lot of problems early on. Because you got to hear a problem
and that's
to solve a problem. That's what we don't want to say we are. So I'm going to use a word to make you feel better. It's called accountability. Be more accountable about the things that's happening. And they'll look at you at a different way. They'll be like, because they might not have had nobody that will hold accountability for their own actions and hold you. Please don't understand that boundaries is necessary. Don't cross mine. Okay? Because again,
you know what this topic reminds me of when we first started dialing in.
What's that?
If you've never really experienced a man, if you've never really experienced one, if you didn't grow up with a man in the household, if you didn't grow up around women or around a woman, you sometimes don't know how to act. You sometimes never learned what a man was really like. You never learned what a woman was really like. But now you're operating in a relationship and you're expected to fill in the gap. Like there was no gap, right? And that challenges a lot of relationships that if you didn't have close relationships with women in the world and all of a sudden you ended up married, there may be a chance that you learned some things about a woman that were not true. You're in a relationship with a man and you learned some things about a man that wasn't true because you learned it from your brothers. You didn't learn it from a man who ran a household, who had accountability and who was taking care of a family and who was making decisions based on having a future and taking care of his responsibilities. You learn being a man as ass out because that's my brother did, or you know what I'm saying, he was fast paced. He made decisions, man. Of course he buying a bunch of cars. He balling out of control, but he ain't taking care of no kids. Nope. He ain't taking care of no households. Nope. And so now, you know what I'm saying, you get into a relationship with somebody who wants to take care of a household and they never really learn that. That can be a challenge, and that is. It's childish, it's immature behavior that they sometimes will have, but they can learn.
That's true.
And you can teach them, and you can learn, and they can learn from you.
I agree.
So the point I wanted to make here is just because you haven't experienced it in the past don't mean you can't grow into understanding it today and for your future. Right? We just have, if you were around abusive relationships, you probably got some of that in your system.
Unfortunately.
And, both sides, the men and women, you probably got some of that in your system. And oftentimes those experiences cause you to make decisions later on in your life.
Yeah. It affects you.
I've been hurt too many times, you know what I'm saying, so to speak. I've just been kind of done wrong in relationships, and now it's made me feel like relationship may not be in the cards for me. And that is a wrong way to think. I have some Correction to do in my spirit because love is still possible. People still believe in love. There are probably a dozen Mrs. Wrights in the world. There are a dozen women who I could probably live a lifetime with and have a great relationship and a beautiful life. So I can't give up on that. But my past
makes you feel like you should.
Makes me feel like I should. It's heavy. It is heavy.
You're carrying other people's trauma.
Correct. And my own trauma.
So it traumatizes you in a way where you have to have accountability to let that off.
Right.
But then reflect on you.
Right.
Because if not, you're attracted again. And I promise you, that is maturity, but that's a huge part of accountability. And I like to say it goes back to childhood. How you develop is a process.
Yeah.
And your process keeps on being developed as you get older.
Yeah.
And you go back to some of the childish ways you did to the manlish ways that you're going to be.
There you go.
I was a child then, I'm a man now. It shouldn't be doing the same because you should have learned.
I think we should make a distinction just to really power strike this conversation.
Okay, go for it.
The difference between when you were a child versus when you are an adult or when you are grown, right? There's a great difference in how we manage time as a child and how we manage time as grown folk. As grown folk, we should be planning and saving. We should be taking care of our relationships, right? We should be putting time in the schedule for our loved ones, not just running around by the seat of your pants doing whatever you want to do in life. Because once you waste time, you can never get it back, right? What do we do? The difference between a child and an adult in managing money.
Totally different.
Now, we should be investing in people, our children, our spouses. We should be investing in our homes. We should be investing in our futures.
Yes.
We should be investing in our health. Think about it. You could go and get some fast food, but it would be better to take a trip to the grocery store and get you a salad and some peanut butter crackers and some fruit juice and stay away from the fast food. right?
Mhm.
We have to think differently as grown folk. We can't just eat anything we want to eat.
No.
We can't just do anything we want to do.
Think about it. When we was kids, man, we could eat mud pie.
Yeah.
We could eat dirt.
Yeah.
And again,
be full.
and you lived.
But
you know,
now-
I don't know what we're gonna have in the grown doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know playing baseball, I just slid in dirt with my mom and I was choking for days.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't work out well for
Our
me.
behavior is much different as a grown person as it is as a child. We take the time to listen to people. We take the time to discern situations. We take the time to think about, how can I solve this problem? Right? When I was a young man, I just ran to try to fix it. I just tried to fix it. But then I learned later on that, you know what? I might not have been making the best decisions in trying to fix my own problems. So let me stand back and get a little help from the Lord, right? Let me stand back and get a little help from my pops. Let me stand back and get a little help from my type boy who I know have been through this situation, right? When we're young, we pop off at the mouth.
Yes.
When we are grown, we take time to calculate what we're going to say to someone in a group, to a particular situation.
Right.
Maybe when you were young, you saw somebody doing something wrong and you just you just kind of look at them and let them go on about their business. But now that you're grown, when you see somebody doing something wrong, you want to try to nurture them. You want to try to correct them. You want to try to help them, inspire them a little bit, right? I know when I was young, I wasn't necessarily a leader, right?
No.
I was good at managing my life, but I wasn't good at managing people. But over the years, I have had many responsibilities that's caused me to be better at managing people and to be a better leader. And so there are things that there are ways that we operate in as a child that in order to get to the grown folk stuff, it takes some pressure. It takes some accountability. It takes somebody looking at you and saying, nope, you screwed it up, do it again, right? And
get it right.
That can be from everything that we just named. How we manage our time, how we manage our money, how we manage our behaviors, how we manage our relationships, how well we listen, how well we speak, how well we lead. In order to get to the adult side of life, you have to have swallowed the big boy pill, right?
Nice
the big girl pill, right? There comes a place in life where we have to let go of childish things.
That's right.
And live as grown folk. And believe me, the grown folk side is not as fun. It's not as fast. It's not as rich. It's not as easy.
Now just remember.
But it requires you to go through some stuff to get there.
Now,
right?
Just remember, it doesn't at first, but it does in the end. Because once you get them boundaries set, and again, I didn't have
those boundaries
I
set.
didn't have them.
Right.
I was young. I didn't know.
Right.
So once you start getting them boundary sets and you start walking within your purpose, then you can start managing your happiness. Because again, it's back on you, and it starts with you. And what I'm noticing is a lot of people put it in someone else, and you should never put your happiness in another person.
There you go.
I'm not saying your spouse cannot give you joy. Please do not take this in the most negative way. She can't, but it also starts with you. Because if it starts with you and she has it too, y'all add to it. And that's what this should be. This should be a multiplication of y'all magnifying y'all happiness, y'all love.
Yeah.
And what happens is one person gets it all from you and the other one don't get it. And the next thing you know, that's where the bickering and then the non-hearing and the fussing come from.
Listen, in the midst of this scenario you just painted, there could be a lot of selfishness.
Oh, yes. It sure can.
You know, you might have grew up only child and you don't know how to share, and so you kind of selfish, right?
You good in the sandbox by yourself.
Yeah, there could be a lot of controlling. Someone just likes to control you. They want to tell you what to do, but don't want to hear what you got to say.
I've been there.
Right? Those are childish behaviors. I want to do what I want to do for vacation. I don't want to do what you want to do. But see, he might want to go to the mountains, or he might want to go snowing, or he might want to go hiking or something like that. But no, she wants to just go, down to the Bahamas and lay on the beach, right? And that ain't as much fun to him. So some of the childhood behaviors can be about self,
Yeah.
right? And some of the childhood behaviors can be about not being a team player, right? And we have to assess all of those things coming into our world. If we're going to find love, if we're going to have someone into our life, we are really looking for somebody who does not operate on the childlike side.
Man, crap, I really feel like, man, when you date somebody these days, we just need to have a questionnaire and let's just battle and go down the questionnaire. Because
But you ain't gonna get real answers.
that's the problem with people.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing is you want real, but you won't be real. But I really like to say I like to see people practice this better because they arguing about where you're going to take somebody on the first date, how much money you're going to spend. How about we really get on the phone and find out what we really have in common and go down the battle list. Right. And then when you go down the battle list, you actually saying how many vacations we got to take by ourselves. How many vacations we got to take with the kids if they got kids. And when you go back and forth, it becomes fun and it can be annoying because some people are dry. Some people are really taking it serious. And then at this point, we invested no money. We invested time because that time I can never get back. Don't waste it. So if you ain't serious about it, then you ain't serious about me. That's right. So don't talk about where we go to eat, what money I'm going to spend, because why am I going to invest in a bad investment?
That's right. You were there during this conversation, right? I was doing some hypothetical rapping, right?
Okay.
So remember the young lady had the scenario. We in the grocery store somewhere.
All right, man.
And the first thing I wanted to do, I wanted to ask for the number. Right? She was like, I don't want to talk on the phone. I'm like, and I thought to myself, I said, I'm asking the question now, is that on the child side or is that way beyond the mature side? What was that?
I can't tell you on the total mature side because my whole thing is I got to have some conversation before I really spend that quality time of walking through a park with you. Before I do all that, I got to have some kind of feeling that I feel good about you. And again, I know a woman probably want to feel it more so than a man, but I am a protector. So you could be a nutty buddy. I need to have some kind of vibe about you before I spend that quality walk in the park. And again, I like the walk in the park because I like to be with a person and with nature.
I love that too.
But I'm not going to start off with a person I don't know at a park I don't know. And then anything can happen because at that point, I'm not on my best because I'm going to be on my defense regardless. Because again, it ain't just being in Atlanta. We are in a point where we have to be noticeable of what's around us, who's around us, where we at, because I always have to have a plan of an exit and everything else because
you have to get a loan or something. Huh?
I mean, I hate to say it, man, we at a point where we have to protect all the time, not just the people we with, ourselves.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I never really did a lot of in my life, but just feel like I always have to just protect myself. You know what I mean? There is a day now where we have to do that. And
this is the day.
But the point here in this story is that our childhood ways don't work as a grown person.
No. Everybody gonna catch on to them.
Take a look at yourself, what people have been telling you, what you've been experiencing, and find a way to go to the next level, whatever that means for you. Go to the next level because our childhood behaviors do affect our relationships, and we don't want to bring young nonsense into a mature, loving, healthy relationship. And with that, this has been Bar Talk with Jay.
Yes, it has.
My name is Craftmatic. This is my boy Smooth Jay. And we want to thank you folks for being here with us tonight.
Yes,
We're here every Thursday from 7 to 8, Facebook Live. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends and families and continue to come back for some of this great wisdom that we share here. Never forget that we do this, folks, because we love you. We appreciate you. And with that, we are out.
Ain't no last